This is Pastor Dave with the YouTube channel, The Essential Truth, with a brief encouragement video to kind of go along with or enhance some of the recent videos that I've put up. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you can probably tell that my voice is a little off, and that's because I'm on the tail end of a cold. And I got a cold on the heels of breaking 3 ribs about a week ago. And it's interesting because I had been doing videos. In fact, I've posted them on the channel already. I'll put some links below if you haven't seen them already. But I did one on James chapter 1, verses 1 to 4, where James says, "Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith works patience." And so I had put that video up after or before breaking my ribs. And then I did another video talking about God's faithfulness from the book of Lamentations, chapter 3. And then I did a video on mentioning, at least from Romans chapter 8 and verse 28, which says, "And we know that all things work together for good to those that love the Lord, to those who are called according to his purpose." And when I broke my ribs, and I won't go into details, but as I said, it happened about when I'm filming this, at least about a week ago, and I'm still suffering from that. I've been told that it's about a 6 to 8 week process to heal. But one of the first things that I thought of when it happened, first of all, I was thankful that it wasn't worse. Breaking 3 ribs is bad enough, but it certainly could have been a lot worse. And one of the things they are concerned about is puncturing a lung, and I praise the Lord that that didn't happen. But still extremely painful. If you've ever experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And because of the cold, it hurts hard even to describe the pain when you have to cough, or even just breathing can be very challenging. But when it first happened, when I first fell and broke my ribs, the verse that came to mind was Romans 8:28. And I thought to myself, if my theology is good before, when it's actually put to the test, if it's worth anything, it's still good. And I did think of that verse in Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good to those that love the Lord, to those who are called according to his purpose. And my first initial thought, as you would expect, is what good possibly could come out of this? Because humanly speaking, you think you're in a lot of pain. It's going to sort of hamper what you do in terms of other things. Makes it difficult to talk, and when you're a pastor, you kind of need to talk. And you just sort of think, Lord, what good can come out of this? I actually thought, well, God says all things work together for good, so I'm going to trust the Lord. As it turned out, we ended up seeing some people that we certainly hadn't planned to see and talk to and witness in 3 people at the emergency stat care place, one being a doctor, one being a nurse, and the other one being the receptionist. And we had a chance to talk to them and to be an encouragement and a challenge. I'm sure they see their share of people who come in not only in a lot of pain, but probably very depressed. And so I tried to be sort of happy, and the doctor even mentioned the fact that you seem, for a guy that just broke 3 ribs, you seem to be taking this pretty well, or in a good mood. And so I was able to share a little bit with him. And then they had given me a prescription that we had to go pick up at a local pharmacy, and met several people there that, again, we wouldn't have had an opportunity to even talk to if it wasn't for the circumstances. And one lady in particular who was the checkout lady, and she was not in a good mood at all. When we went to check out, she sort of greeted us with, is this all you have? Not a very pleasant attitude, and who knows what was going on in her life. I mean, we realize people go through things and difficulties and, all sorts of things in today's world, but she wasn't very kind initially. And I mentioned that, well, we're here to get this prescription because I broke 3 ribs. And instantly she kind of had a turnaround, when I mentioned that, and she said, "You broke 3 ribs." It was just kind of a shock and a surprise, as was with the doctor, that, boy, you seem to be taking this pretty well, considering the condition. And finally, by the end of the conversation, again, we were checking out and there were people in line behind us, so we didn't have time to get into too in-depth of a conversation. But by the end of the conversation, she said, when we were leaving, she said, "I'll pray for you." And it was just interesting to see the turnaround in her. And so again, that was my initial thought of the promise really that we have in Romans 8:28, and didn't expect when I included that in some of my recent videos that I would have a firsthand experience this soon to put that into practice. But it really does make a huge difference. Our attitude, God knows what happens in our life. Nothing takes him by surprise, and he'll get me through this. I have no doubt about that. He's already shown me some purposes behind it. As I said, I got to talk to people and to witness to and share with that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten to talk to. But, the thing is, we need to understand as we go through life. I heard this years ago when I was a teenager growing up in church, and it was a simple little statement, and that is, you are the only Jesus that some people will ever see. And, I've been reminded of that often in my adult life, especially. I was a teenager when I heard that in church years ago, but in my adult life, I've thought of that so many times. It's true. As we go through life, it's a difficult world out there, filled with challenges, filled with difficulties. And when we go through difficult times as believers, that's when people are really watching us under the magnifying glass, so to speak, to see if this faith that you claim and this Jesus that you say you believe in is with you at all times. There's a very famous, they call it a poem. It doesn't rhyme in the sense of a poem like you would typically think, but it's a story by an anonymous person, and it's called Footprints. And probably many watching this either have a copy maybe on a little refrigerator magnet or something. But basically, the whole idea behind this little story or poem is that a man had a dream and he saw two sets of footprints along the beach. One was him and one was the Lord. And they were sort of walking along side by side. And he noticed during the difficult times in life, the challenges in life, that there was only one set of footprints. And he questioned the Lord, why is it that during my most difficult times in life, there was only one set of footprints? You abandoned me during those times. And I'm paraphrasing. Most of you are familiar with this poem or story. And he said, why was there only one set of footprints during those difficult or challenging times? Lord, you abandoned me. And Jesus said, no, it's not that I abandoned you. It was during those times that I carried you. And there's a lot of truth to that. Again, the person that wrote it is anonymous, not really sure, but there's a lot of truth to that. When we do go through difficult times, and as we sung years ago, a song that said, when I come to the place where you're all I have, I find that you're all I need. And that is so true as believers. When we really have our faith tested, when things are going well and there's no difficulties or challenges or problems, it's real easy to talk about your faith and the Lord and how good he is. But it's when you go through those difficult challenges that you really have your faith tested. And as James chapter 1 says, when you go through those difficult times, it really does test your faith and produces patience in your life as you discover that I've come to the place where you're all I have, God, and you're all that I need. So I just wanted to encourage you, a little bit different of a video. Please be praying if you would. I know that some of you that watch will be praying for my healing process. As I said, they say 6 to 8 weeks is the ideal time frame, so it's going to be a little while. I'm still going to be putting up videos, and also be praying. We're getting close to the podcast. We're doing finishing touches on the studio where I'm going to be filming the podcast, and we're going to have a variety of segments in that. Some of them will be Bible studies with other people, and just some other things that we're working through on that. So be praying for that as we hope to get that started by the end of the month of July. And I appreciate your prayers just for me as I heal and through this process. And I appreciate so much the folks that have been tuning in to the videos. The short videos that I've been doing have really been a blessing to a lot of people based on what they've told me, the feedback. That's just the Bible verse of the day. They're very short, but I thought that was the perfect subject matter to go along with the content of the channel, was to have just Bible verses of the day, and to have the opportunity to go a little more in depth with those verses. And as I put on a recent video as well from Isaiah 55, God's word, he promises, will not return to him void. It will accomplish what he purposes. And so I appreciate your prayers. Thank you so much for visiting the YouTube channel, The Essential Truth. This is Pastor Dave. You have a blessed day.